Hey guys, Coach Micheal, Burt. I believe a monster producer is a legendary creature that combines multiple skill sets to dominate a market. And every month I bring a new monster producer to you. And this month, it's no different. I want you to want to produce at monster levels. There's something that every monster has in common. They want more of something. More impact, more money, more leadership, more clarity, more confidence. And I'm very excited about teaching this monster producer to, because in this month we're talking about the monster surge. And when you think about surging, I want you to think about sudden, powerful, upward movements in your business. Now, most businesses grow organically 5, 10, 15, 20% year over year. If you got a good product and service, if you're pushing it out to the market, if you're satisfying customer need, if there's a demand and you got the supply, your business is going to grow. But how do we think in terms of multiplication versus addition? How do we think in terms of how do we go out and grow 2, 3, 4, 500,000 a year, 2, 3, 4 million a year versus just a few dollars? And I remember early on in my business career, my accountant and I sat down and we were talking about my growth. And she said, Coach, you picked up $200,000 more dollars this year. And I remember being defeated. I remember going, we worked that hard just to pick up a couple $100,000 more dollars? And I remember getting mad. I'm like, you come back to me when you can tell me we picked up a couple $1 million. A surge is a sudden, powerful, upward movement. It is typically predicated by capitalizing on trends, technological trends, market trends, economic trends. There are certain trends that you pick up huge surges. And so in this monster producer today, what I'm going to show you is how do you surge your business. And in essence, a surge typically starts when you, because of your unique background, your unique experiences, you look at a business or your business and you see undercapitalized areas. And you can bring knowledge, skill, desire, and confidence to those areas. You can bring your networks. See, Warren Buffett has made a fortune by seeing companies that were undercapitalized and bringing a certain skill set to those undercapitalized companies and blowing those companies up. Go back and study Trump's career. How did Trump initially make all that money? He went to Manhattan. He saw dilapidated buildings. He brought two parties together. He brought the government and a group together, and he said, we can take this dilapidated building and turn it into a beautiful Hyatt. And he got paid for brokering the deal. I think one of his first deals, he got 80 to 100 million. That's a surge. When you pick up 80 to 100 million in a deal, that's a surge, okay? And so when you think about this, I've got friends like Grant Cardone who picked up $4 million in a month in his online academy in December because of the push they had. That's a surge, okay? So when you start thinking about a surge in your business, I want you to think like this. There's a strong need. There's a place we can profit. If we bring some goodwill and fulfill the need, could we show a quantum jump in our business? Okay, so I want you to think about examples of surging in your business. And if you look back and you started your business like I did from nothing, you can remember when you went from 0 to 30,000. What about the time you went from 30,000 of revenue to 300,000? Do you realize that you surged your business 10 times? You see, some people have surged it 2 times. Some people have surged it 5 times. Some people have surged it 20 times. And if you've already done it 10 times, here's what I would tell you. You know how to do it. So I got to get your mind in this segment around one thing. Huge jumps, quantum leaps. How do we solve bigger problems that people would pay us bigger money for? How do we maybe pick up, if you're in a small business, 50, 60, 100 more thousand with the division or with the product? And then as you begin to grow, how do we pick up $500,000 more dollars? And then as we get bigger, you see big companies, how do we pick up a lot of money? And that's what we're talking today in Monster Surge. Come on back and I'm going to show you how we created different divisions of a company and surged in different areas. And then I'm going to show you how I use real estate to pick up some money that I could surge again. And I got to get you in the mind of showing quantum leaps by strategy shifts that we take. Today we're talking Monster Surge. Hey guys, Coach Micheal, Burt, the SuperCoach. Here's the deal, man. I know you had a coach that yelled and cussed and treated you like you were nobody in the past, but guess what? Coaching doesn't have to be a negative process. I embrace the concept of intense but positive. So if you'll never spend the money to have a coach, if you'll never get in a coaching program, do this for me. Buy this book, CoachBurt.com/new book. And when you do, you get all kinds of free coaching from me. This book can become your coach. So get off the couch, man, and let's go get in the ball game so you can get better. All right, welcome back. Monster Producer, we're talking about Monster Surge. How do we show a big bump? How do we really show a big bump in our business? Well, just remember some basic foundation material. Money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people will pay to solve it. The bigger the problem, the more money people will pay to solve it. So when you see a need in the market that you can feel, and either a primary flow, so I want you to think of this, your primary flow of income is the number one way in which you generate income, okay? But most great businesses and most millionaires have up to 7 flows of income. So for example, in my company, I speak and get paid, I coach, I train, I lead, I license material, I do podcasts, I create intellectual property that we sell, I do videos, I have an online academy, I train the trainer, I do boot camps. These are all flows of income that flow into our company. But it all starts with one primary flow, coaching. Now, to create a secondary flow, this is a big mistake a lot of people make, is they don't have a symbiotic relationship to their secondary flow of income. So when I'm thinking about surging, here's what I'm doing. I'm out there coaching. I'm out there seeing what's going on. I'm out there running my business. And just through uncovering these rocks, I go, whoa, there's a big need in the market right here. My business could fulfill that need. I remember when I first started coaching Clayton Whitaker, who's in Monster Producer. His primary flow of income was one. He went in and he bought loans off small car dealerships, and he sold those loans to banks. He brokered the paper. He sold the paper is what he called it. Through one session with him, I said, Clayton, you could offer 3 or 4 more services to the car dealerships. Symbiotic relationships to your primary flow. And from that, he created a very profitable walkaway program. He created a coaching program. He created 3 or 4 flows of income off his primary flow. So let me give you some examples. My primary flow is coaching. That's how we generate our business. We have 7 to 10 flows that come in from coaching. We've added new flows. For example, I was out coaching one day and I said, you know what? Most companies do a pitiful job, I mean pitiful job, of onboarding their new sales reps. They got no plan. They got no strategy. They got no selling system. They got no follow-up mechanism. We could create a program called Talent Supply and supply talent ready-made so the business owners didn't have to do it, right? So we created a program called Talent Supply. What if we could supply your talent ready to go in 90 days? In the first year, we brought in $80,000 of revenue. That's $80,000 we didn't have. That's a surge. When I decided to go online with my products, we created an online platform so that we could sell to anybody in the world. That online platform now does about $6,000 a month. Okay, so 6,000 times 12, that's a $72,000 pickup. What if we had someone selling that platform every single day, and that $72,000 turned into $720,000? That's a surge. Okay, now in my real estate, I bought lots of real estate during the down market, during a recession, and I was buying real estate at 20, 30, 40% off market value. I was buying houses. One of the houses I bought in Smyrna, Tennessee, I paid $100,000 for, okay? I put a renter in there. The renter pays $1,200 a month. They are paying down that debt. My note on that house is $883. My payment is, my person is paying $1,200, and every month they're paying down that. The market picks up. I talked to my real estate agent, and I said, I'd like to sell that property at the peak. That property today would appraise at $180,000. So I go to the renter, and I say, I'll sell you this property for $165,000. I bought it at $100,000. I sell it at $165,000. I put 20% down. So I may pick up $100,000 of cash just like that by selling that property. Now, I take the $100,000 of cash from the property and I 1031 exchange it into my new greatness factory. So I don't pay taxes on the capital gain. I put it into a bigger building that has 6 places to rent, that is bringing in revenue every single month, 10 to 15,000, on a property that may cost me 7. So what have I done? Instead of picking up 300 or 400 a month, now I picked up 6,000 a month. And all I'm doing is surging here. And what I'm doing is I'm making investments, I'm taking liabilities and turning them into assets, and I'm leveraging to surge. And this is how we got to get you to start thinking. And I remember early on in my business career, I would talk to people who were playing at very big levels, and they would tell me, man, you're not thinking enough. You're not thinking in terms of scaling. You're not thinking in terms of growing. You're not thinking in terms of multiplying. You're thinking in terms of adding 1 more customer or 2 more customers. You got to think in terms of, imagine a day you go to work and pick up 50 new customers. Imagine a day you go and pick up 500 more customers. That's surging. So let me review before we take a break. Number 1, where is your primary flow of income undercapitalized? Where are you sitting on acres of diamonds? Because you got to get your primary where it needs to be to begin with. I bet your primary flow of income is not even clicking on every cylinder. Number 2, what are the secondary or symbiotic relationships that feed back into the primary? Number 3, if your business is successful, it should kick off excess cash. The philosophy is don't save to save, save to invest. Okay? Don't save to save to invest that cash. Get that money moving. Get that money working into bigger deals. Why? Because what are we talking about? Surging. Okay? Could be a new division. Could be a new product. Could be a new demographic. Could be a new market. Then you got to ask yourself, where do I need to reinvest this money that would yield a monster surge? If your business is growing 40% year over year, you may put it back into your business. You may find financial instruments that can pick up 8, 10, 12, 15% on your money. How do you surge? But the first thing you got to do is get your primary flow where it needs to. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything to work with. Now, when we come back, I'm going to talk about 6 areas that you can surge in your business to pick up a surge immediately. Because you got to quit thinking like this right in front of your face. You got to start thinking like this. Multiplication versus addition. Today we're talking monster surge. I believe God created coaches for one reason. He knew that we couldn't get there on our own. We couldn't reach our own potential, that we would contract and retreat when it got hard, that we wouldn't hold ourselves accountable. God created coaches to get us to break through that ceiling of complexity. What does God say about your potential? You got to pick up a copy of Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. Pre-release right now. Comes out March 21st. Get all the free gifts that come along with it. Here's the deal. God wants you to expand and multiply. Find out how and to dig into your potential. My new book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. CoachBurt.com/new book. All right, have I got you thinking at a bigger level yet? Because you can't be a monster if you're going to think at a little baby level. Okay? I got to get you thinking bigger, man. I got to get you thinking in terms of we got to grow in multiples. We got to grow at a much faster rate. So how do we do that? We got to get our primary flow up. We got to start thinking about symbiotic relationships, right? New divisions of the company, new things we can fulfill. See, I couldn't sell to a national audience. I couldn't sell to you in my online academy if I didn't have an online product. Well, guess what? It cost me $25,000 up front to do my online academy. But here's the deal. I borrowed against my whole life insurance policy. So I fund my whole life. I borrowed against it while my money's still making money inside the policy. Okay, I came over here and got my online academy. I already told you what it was doing, $6,000 a month. So I put $25,000 in. That's my investment. Borrowed against my whole life policy. I'm paying my whole life policy back $1,500 a month. I'm picking up $6,000 a month. So on my $25,000 investment in year 1, I pick up $72,000. Would you make that investment? Would you put 25 in if you picked up 75 in 1 year? Every person in America is going to say yes. You pick up $50,000 in a year? Yes, that's a good investment. So when you're thinking about this concept, what is that? That's a surge. That's a surge. Now my next level is get this online academy to millions and millions and millions of people. That's the next surge, okay? So let me give you 6 areas I think you surge. Number 1, blue marlin versus bluegill. You hear me talk about this a lot in Monster Producer. If money changes hands when problems are solved, you can fish for bluegill, which are little bitty fish, or you can fish for blue marlin. So one way to surge is bigger contracts, bigger clients, time output, time inputs and time outputs, okay? So this has to do with your hit list and your farm club. Number 1, you go after bigger fish. Because when you get a check from a bigger fish, it multiplies your money versus smaller fish. Okay. Number two, something I'm doing right now, multiplied sales force. So I just hired a director of expansion. His job is to do the primary selling and growth of the company, which frees me up to do what I do best, which is coach. So we can multiply our sales force with a product to sale expedited, right? Now, here's the deal. You got to train these people. You got to coach these people. You got to grow these people. So the second way to surge is multiply the team. Too many little small entrepreneurs will never do this. They'll never hire a salesperson. They'll never hire customer service. They will constantly play at a very small level and they'll say, well, it cuts into my profit. You can't go big if little got you, man. You can't surge if little got you, okay? Number three, you can tap out a new market. So let me give an example. Once you have a proof of concept, that means it's working. You're making money with it. You've got it successful in one area, okay? Then you take it to a new market. Here's an example. Monster Producer is successful right now in 3 markets: Murfreesboro, Nashville, Cool Springs. What if I pick it up and take it to Chattanooga and Knoxville? And let's say I get 40 people in a room paying $3.99 a month in Knoxville, and I do Knoxville in the morning. That's $16,000 we picked up. And I go down to Chattanooga and do Chattanooga in the afternoon, and we pick up another $16,000. We picked up $32,000 in revenue that day. Multiply that by 12, we pick up what? Over $360,000 in a year. Is that a surge? Now, how many days did we do to pick up 360? Did you count them? 12. So we picked up over $360,000 if it works like I plan on it working. And how many more days did I work? 12 more days. Knoxville, Chattanooga. 3-hour drive. I do it in a day. I go home and I see my family at night. So would you work 12 more days to pick up almost $400,000? Yes or no? I mean, right? That's multiplying, okay? So number three is new market to attack with proof of concept. Here's number 4. New offering to satisfy demonstrated need. Now, in the Bible, it talks about the parable of the talents, okay? The parable of talents is it gave one person this talent, one person this talent, right? One went and multiplied. Everybody went and multiplied except for one person. And one person went and hid the talent. I talk about this in my new book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. Well, to the people that used the talent, they were given more talent, okay? And it's called a demonstrated capacity. They showed a demonstrated capacity to use those talents. Well, when you see a demonstrated need, what I mean by that is people would pay for it. There are true economic buyers. You're not guessing, you know. You got proof of concept. You bring a new offering to a demonstrated need. That means we know people need it and they will pay for it. Some people need things, but they won't pay for them. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. There's things that I'd like to have, but I don't pay for. So you bring a new offering, symbiotic relationship, back to your primary flow, to a demonstrated need. Okay? So I want you thinking right now, what else could we provide people? What other things can we provide people? Okay? All right, number 5, technology accelerators. This is a huge area, man. If you really want to show growth and scale, when you're using technology, video, YouTube, Facebook Live, Snapchat. I tell people I can't take 1,000 meetings, but I can do a Facebook Live that has 1,000 people on there. Right? So here's the deal. What is that? An accelerator. We had a woman today signed up from California. I have never met in my life. She said, I saw one of your videos on the 15-second sales rule. And I was so compelled by that video that I immediately went to your website. I called in. I got to talk to you. And she's committing $400 a month. That's almost $5,000 a year to be coached because she saw one video. Now, is that video worth it? Yes or no? See, you got to draw a direct correlation to the technology and money. So people tell me, I don't know how it turns into money. I can't get my ROI back out of this. It costs me this much to do a video. How do I make money with it? Let me tell you something. People build an affinity with you when they see you. And I don't care. They don't have to see you in person. They can see you on the screen. They can hear you on podcasts. They can listen to you. And then they say, how do we do business with that person? Because I like them. Okay? Now, let me give you number 6. Then we'll take a break, and I got one more thing to get you out of here. Marketing accelerators to scale. Marketing accelerators to scale. What do I mean by that? If you watch what I do and you want to be a monster, you're doing all this stuff, man. You're trying to become a person of interest. You're pumping out everything. You're pushing out blogs. You're pushing out videos. You're pushing out database. You're pushing out social media. You are doing everything you can to accelerate your brand out in the market. So people are coming to you and saying, man, I know who you are. First step is you got to become known. A monster producer is known. They become famous. You know what famous means? Well known. Celebrated. More people know you than you know them. And you know how you do it? You push out these marketing accelerators. Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Twitter. You push it, but you got to have something valuable to say. Now, you use these 6 things, and I promise you, you will show a surge in your business. And when we come back after the break, I'm going to give you some takeaways and get you out of here and thinking, how do you surge, big surges with your business? Hey guys, Coach Micheal, Burt, the SuperCoach. Here's the deal, man. I know you had a coach that yelled and cussed and treated you like you were nobody in the past, but guess what? Coaching doesn't have to be a negative process. I embrace the concept of intense but positive. So if you'll never spend the money to have a coach, if you'll never get in a coaching program, do this for me. Buy this book, CoachBurt.com/new book. And when you do, you get all kinds of free coaching from me. This book can become your coach. So get off the couch, man, and let's go get in the ball game so you can get better. All right, we've been talking about surging today. What is surging? Sudden, upward, powerful movement. And I got to get you thinking as we close this out today in multiplication. So what's your homework from today's show? What's your homework from today's topic? What's your homework today? Number 1 is your primary flow. I want you to really draw this up. Is my primary flow of income clicking on every cylinder? Am I saving to save, or am I saving to invest? Number 2, what's the symbiotic flows I can bring to the market to a demonstrated need? Number 3, can I tap into a new market? Number 4, am I going after blue marlin or bluegill? Number 5, is it time to multiply my sales team and train them and coach them? Okay. Number 6, is it time to accelerate through technology? Okay. And if you'll start thinking along these lines, guys, I want you to break it down right now and ask yourself, am I surging or am I barely limping to the next level? How do I show rapid growth? How do I show hyper growth? And if you will buckle down on what I'm talking about today, this will show a tremendous bump in your business. How do you leverage money to go scale and grow your deal to a much higher level? I believe everybody needs a coach in life. I believe a monster producer is a legendary creature that combines multiple skills to dominate a market. I appreciate you being a monster producer. Let me tell you something. More is the key word. More time, more money, more freedom, more confidence, more structure. Here's the best part, more impact in the world. Everybody needs a coach in life, guys. I appreciate you. Let me be yours. I believe God created coaches for one reason. He knew that we couldn't get there on our own. We couldn't reach our own potential, that we would contract and retreat when it got hard, that we wouldn't hold ourselves accountable. God created coaches to get us to break through that ceiling of complexity. What does God say about your potential? You got to pick up a copy of Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. Pre-release right now. Comes out March 21st. Get all the free gifts that come along with it. Here's the deal. God wants you to expand and multiply. Find out how and to dig into your potential. My new book, Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. CoachBurt.com/new book.